David Seeger is a pioneering ceramic artist. He was born in Bradford in 1937 and studied at Leeds College of Art, as it was then, under the pioneering head of art, Harry Thrubron. He returned to study in 1964 and worked at the college until 1969, with many of his students going on to become well-known artists in their own right. I'd like to welcome David Seeger. Can you tell us a little bit of the experience of studying in Leeds in the early days? So you went to, you've been placed at the college, Leeds College of Art as it was then, in 1955. And that would be the first year studying under Harry Thrubron, who was the then influential head of art.
Oh, he's significant for me. Before I talk about that, my grandmother was a significant one. She was from a cultured family. I think her father was one of 8, so they used to have chamber concerts, and they all played musical instruments. She was a good pianist, but she was also secretary of Bradford Arts Club, amongst other things. And me, being like an ordinary child, was okay with the pencil. My Uncle Ralph, already at nearly baby stage, had me with a pencil doing round and round and round and round, or square and square and square and square. I vividly remember that. Now, I can't be more than certainly under 3. But anyway, my grandmother also was kind of cultured. She was involved in raising money for things, one of which was funds for the new Bradford Grammar School building, which is the school I went to. My grandfather went to it, my dad went to it, and his brother. And I had teachers there who remembered them, which was weird.
So was it very different, what you'd done before, to studying at Leeds College of Art? Was the experience under Harry Thrubron quite different, the sort of way that you were taught?
My dad took me with my little folder of pencil drawings, which is more or less all we achieved. I did do some very good post paints. We had the Austral range of Reeves post paints, and the quality of colours were fabulous. We did it on little pieces of coloured paper. I've actually lost my pictures. They're there somewhere buried, but I'd like to have had them here for that. But after the first term, the head of painting, who was this giant of a man called Francis Helps, retired. Harry Thrubron took his place, and he came to Leeds with no friends apart from Eddie O'Donnell, the model, famous for traditional jazz. He only died a couple of years ago, and he hadn't changed shape. And he was the model, and I've done hundreds of models of him and drawings of him. But as I say, Harry Thrubron came and picked about maybe half a dozen of us, and then it was augmented a year later when other new students came in. But I was one of the very first, if you like, guinea pigs. I was the odd one because most of them were painters. 2 were carvers. In those days, we had to do the intermediate exam, which was a craft. And then things like composition and lettering and all the bits and pieces that the academics were armed with. You left college with this armament of all these different skills, and then eventually specialised in one or other and went to become a teacher, most of them. There was a teacher training course at the end of it, which was our destiny and until Harry came along. We were invited to the first summer school, which was held at Scarborough Training College, and people like Terry Frost were there, Victor Passmore and his wife, Terry Frost particularly, throughout, and a real helper for the teaching of colour and modern art, if you like. Tom Hudson was there. We'd never met him, and he became one of the staff members later as part of Harry's team. And he was into engineering and using modern materials and so on. But that summer school was the beginning the beginning of the first term of our second year, having become a potter, all the pottery students were sent to Stoke-on-Trent for a month. And I joined them. Most of them were, their destiny was product design and in the ceramics industry, making teapots and china and whatever. And they were very good. They made really good coffee pots and all the bits and pieces that went with that. The month at Burslem Art School, we were there the mornings we worked in the college. Every afternoon we went to a factory. So we saw all the factories, the tile works, the lavatory works, the china works, the china painting. At that point, the pottery industry was just a lot of people doing what they'd done in Roman times and then improved through Victorian times of china and porcelain and gold and silver decoration and all that kind of thing, the refinements. But it was just beginning to be automated. And it's a disaster now, it's gone. And I remember that month in Stoke-on-Trent, I was reading Émile Zola's Germinal, and it was just the same, these back-to-back places, but these wonderful people. You go into the decorating workshop in somewhere like Coalport, and all these amazing women who could paint roses and do all the tricks, and the perfume of the oils they used in the decorating. There was almond oil, there was lavender oil, there was glycerine, there was all these beautiful, you could taste them, but the perfume of turpentine, to have had the chance to experience that at first hand, and that gave me a taste. When we went there, we had to take a design for a teapot and make it. And I'd come up with this idea for a lid. And this mould maker said, "You can't make that, it won't slip cast." I said, "Bugger you," and I made one. And he ate his words because I've always had this kind of slightly rebellious cheek, not to do quite, go over the edge a bit. And I've still got the teapot somewhere. I think the lid got bust, but maybe he was right, the fella in the end. The other thing that happened before and after Harry Thuban left, he brought specialists in from every world of knowledge. He had Alistair McIntyre, the philosopher, professor for philosophy at the university. Jerry Ravitz, professor of mathematics. He introduced topology, which is where the Möbius strip came from. Mirror images, using mathematics to expand the imagination theoretically, but applying it to the real world material things. So you invert a tile, mirror images, rotation, inside out, all that came from, the first words for it came from Jerry Ravitz. By writing words, the word concave and convex, but it's written as if you can see through to the word actually written on as if it's transparent. But I've even broken all those rules because they're not logical. If you think you've got the rule, it doesn't work. This is probably the end of the line of the experiments that started with this as a solid shape. It's a Möbius strip, which means that it's a circle that's been cut and twisted, so there's only one edge. So this edge goes round, comes back on itself. So I've made it that bit thicker, and as you see, it changes shape. And it's kind of two-dimensional at the top and three-dimensional here. But I played games with it so that this strip appears to go through, connecting up. So the inside becomes part of the game. So it's really where pottery becomes sculpture. One of the original reasons for making teapots was that modern art is accessible as a teapot. Ordinary people come to modern art and they're baffled. They don't get abstract art. So this is a very simple kind of abstract game with shapes and forms. But the fact it's a teapot, any ordinary person is really attracted to look. It became a teapot by putting a handle on one side and a spout on the other, and there are pictures that you'll see later.
You returned to Leeds in 1964 to teach, is that right? Were you living in Leeds all of that time?
We had a little house up in Headingley near Brown's Fish and Chip Shop. It's still there. That Harry Thuban lived in when he first came, and that was 15 shillings a week, 5 rooms. We called it Rolling Mews. It was Rolling Place. But I lived in there for nearly 6 years. So I did 2 years intermediate, 3 years this NDD, and then I got a postgraduate year. I never even got a piece of paper to say I'd done that. But I was working for Hubert Dorwood, being his mould maker, and I earned more money than he did because he would pay me a few pounds a week. That kept me, and I was then part-time teaching. So I did 3 years part-time before I was appointed lecturer.
So you were, was it 1964? You were...
I was appointed lecturer in 64. Yeah. So I'd been, 2 years I was teaching part-time. But even before that, when I was doing this postgraduate year, Alf Park brought me in to teach a Saturday morning class. And famous people came to that. Marilyn Gaunt, who became a very well-known filmmaker. She was one of my babies in that class. And the other one was, now what's his name, Bob Peck, who was a friend of my ex-wife in Headingley Amateur Dramatics. And Bob was a lovely guy.
So in the 1960s, when you returned to teach, it was a really influential period of time in Leeds, in the art world. You've already mentioned the Gregory Fellows, and I believe you also saw Yoko Ono's piece at the college in the Vernon Street studio.
Oh, Yoko Ono and the Tony Cox, who was her dead husband. Yes, we're jumping a little bit forward, but that was when we were starting teaching, and Patrick Hughes had come in. Robin Page had come in from Canada, and he was part of Fluxus with Yoko Ono. It was long before Nuttall and Jeff Nuttall came in, and John Fox and Roland Miller. They all came in later when we moved into the Polytechnic. So we had a whole squadron of performers and installation people who were fabulous. But really early on, we had Cornelius Cardio doing music. Anton Ehrensweig he did a thing with Indian dancing where we were doing drawings of these Indian dancers. We put on a project where we got all these enormous posters of figures, and there was a big hind soup with a girl's face and a big spoon and a plate of soup, and the model sitting in front of it, so a tiny model, and people were doing these amazing drawings. And Harry Thuban was bringing in this moving figure, and Raymond Duchamp's nudes descending a staircase, but miles beyond that, of how to look. All of it was about, getting your own imagination of how you make a version of what you see that is not just a static, frozen perspective image. It's the real thing. It's Paul Klee, it's Schwitters, it's moving right out towards new vision. I was one of the makers, so I was helping other people most of the time. The vision was theirs, and I was the gopher, which is totally respectable, and we introduced our innovations anyway. You know, I mean, for example, Carol McNichol, who's become very well known ceramist. But I remember Carol in our play with a chrysanthemum in her hand, and a ball of plaster, and it's just beginning to go off, and boom. I dribbled it all across, and then a handful on top, and she waits till it's out, turns it over, trims the edge, another handful on top, so that the two come about, and then she pours slip in, and it comes apart, and half of it tears off. But eventually she gets a respectable chrysanthemum in clay. It breaks all the rules, but Carol was fabulous. And then she'd make crumpled newspaper and cast it, and take it apart, fill it, put a handle and spout on it, and she'd got a crumpled teapot. She made some clocks with like a crumpled handkerchief that had all the bits of decoration on it, and a little hole in it that you could see this clock that you could wind up at the bottom.